Hello everyone and welcome to No Place Like Home. I'm your host Kath, and what a pleasure to be joined by our ghostwriter herself, producer Rach.
Hello Kath, how are you?
Fabulous. I'm actually even more fabulous knowing that when we're recording this is our 100th episode.
I know, crazy. How did we get here?
I don't know. I feel like I'm just a blow-in that comes every now and again, but you, madame, have been here for every single one.
Yes, from episode 1, which is almost 2 years ago now.
Crazy.
Which it feels like yesterday, but also feels like 5 years ago at the same time.
I mean, in preparation for this, there's a bit of a go-through of the reels.
Yes.
Some of the original ones were
spicy.
Well,
the first ever recording day, we did Larissa's story, which was really the first time we got to know the how and the why of home.
Yeah.
Before home even existed.
Exactly. It was but a dream with some ground, but yeah. Her story is obviously very powerful, and her emotion that she shows throughout that entire podcast is intense, and it shows the depth behind the why, which is incredible.
Postpartum was probably not even a word that I knew of at all. Because I had focused so much on the pregnancy and then the birth, I had no concept of the postpartum period. I had no idea what a doula was. I just knew the system, that I was going to have my baby in hospital. That was the safest thing to do, and that then I was going to come home and be a mum.
And run your business while raising a newborn baby.
And run my business while,
And recovering from birth.
And look, I was the person that I was then was all about the successful business, the things, the material things around me, and that was a representation of my success. And, you know, we all get caught up in it in some way, shape or form.
Definitely.
And, you know, I don't regret that person that I was, because it's brought me to where I am now.
Yeah,
and,
it's all part of your journey.
It is.
Yeah.
Our very first guests that we had on, which was Lael and Ufern.
Yeah.
Lael Stone's episode, if you haven't listened to it, go back and watch that one, was incredible. I had never heard a story like that before. She speaks about all of her birth experiences with all of her babies and the contrasting experiences that she had and how that really shaped her as a person. And it was intense and a really good introduction to what this podcast was all about in those early days.
Absolutely. I think when you speak to a professional as well who, you know in the field holds so much weight, and people turn to Lael in particular for so much advice and guidance, but you see the rawness behind her story, and also her delivery was so captivating.
Absolutely. Yes.
That feeling of euphoria, that feeling of power and strength. I had never felt so powerful in my whole life, ever. It was like
I know that feeling. You can do anything.
I can do anything. And again, I wanted to tell everybody, because I was like, do you know what I just did? Like, that was the most epic thing ever. And that really ignited this fire in me of like, I want women to have that experience. And so that's kind of what got me working in birth. And then interestingly, my third baby was really the doozy, right? So by that time, you know, it was 5 years later that I had her. I'd been working in birth. I was a doula. I was teaching calm birth. I was probably actually a little bit arrogant, I think. Yeah, I was. And I really was like, if you do all of this and you do the work, then you'll have the birth you want. And so for my third baby, I was like, right, not just a home birth, I'm going to go up the bush to my mum's place in the country and have the baby on the land. Like, I was like, we're going to have the full hippie experience.
Free birth or?
No, I had a midwife.
Yeah.
But, and what was really interesting is in that third pregnancy, I remember saying, and this is possibly one of the stupidest things to ever say, so don't anybody ever say this, but I actually said, I want this birth experience to show me the woman I am. That's what I ask for.
That's a big message to the universe, Lyle.
Yeah, it is. And boy, did I get it.
Who have been your other favourites, Kath?
I must say I have quite a few favourites. If I'm going to spin it to more recent times, Pam. Honestly, I think all of us were in fits. And it wasn't that her whole story was hilarious. It's the way that it was delivered. Actually, there are so many parts of her story that were quite intense and quite emotional, but the way that she delivered it.
She's a firecracker.
She's a firecracker. I think the comment that she made about the bride meeting the groom with the IVF conception, it was,
quite the analogy.
It was, and one that stuck with all of us.
Plus, at that time, Medicare didn't cover unless you did 2 IUIs. For same-sex couples, they wouldn't cover any costs for us at all. It's only just come into literally in the last few weeks. Intrauterine insemination.
Right, okay, yeah.
So you just time everything, get the bride to meet the groom at the altar with just a few injections and, that kind of thing. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah. At the right time, at the right day.
The real traditional way.
Yeah, we did the traditional wedding bride and groom thing.
Rachel's crying in the background from laughter.
Yeah. Well, that's how my fertility specialist described it to me. I was like, it's actually, we're just getting the bride to meet the groom at the top of the altar. It's fine. I was like, oh, yeah, that's great. That's actually a really good analogy. So I've used it ever since.
I also, just on a completely different level, loved Robin's episodes.
Yes.
I absolutely loved working with Robin while she was here with us on the floor, and learnt so much from her. But her episodes in particular just gave me a different spin on how I approach my own kids, certainly, and play, but how I interact with babies in the space too, which... Yeah.
That bonding and building secure attachment with the babies.
Yeah.
So much knowledge wrapped up in Robin, and she's so gentle in her approach. It's always
really
beautiful to listen to her.
She's a special woman.
In terms of time, I think it's also important to know that connection doesn't happen instantly for everybody.
That was going to be my next.
So, and I think that's really important for women to be reassured about, that it's okay that if you don't have that instant love or connection for your baby, that to worry that, my baby's not going to have a secure attachment and it's going to be really detrimental. I heard a perinatal psychiatrist once use the most beautiful example that he explains is that when you meet your partner, you don't necessarily fall in love the moment you lay your eyes on them, right? It takes time to get to know them and to learn their nuances and to learn about them. Well, that's the same with your baby. Yes, you've carried your baby for 9 months or early if you've had a preemie baby, but you haven't got to know your baby. You don't know what their temperament is like, and that plays a huge part in it too, with a baby's temperaments. But it's taking those small moments, because it could be eye contact when you're feeding. Now, some people will feel like, I haven't been able to successfully breastfeed, therefore I can't bond and connect with my baby. Now, breastfeeding is a real protective factor in bonding and attachment. We know that.
I certainly
Okay, we know that, right? And there's a lot of guilt and shame that are placed on women who really struggle with breastfeeding because they're like, I don't have that physical connection. But you can still look lovingly into your baby's eyes while you're bottle feeding a baby.
What about you, Rach?
I can't go past Dr. Edna. Again, firecracker. We love her, and just so much knowledge wrapped up in one human.
Yeah.
Incredibly insightful couple of episodes. And I think one of my favourite parts of one of those episodes is Larissa at the end. She has a little bit of a moment, has a little bit of a breakdown, and Edna jumps up to give her a hug.
Mom, you are the priority. Baby's brought in, baby's taken out. You are the priority. It's called umul behis, which means you are helping the mom come out of where she was at. You're rebirthing the mom.
Rebirthing her.
Rebirthing her. Like literally, it's like, bathing her, feeding her, nourishing her. Baby will just get looked after, but it's about the mom. It's about the mom.
What happened? What happened to us in the West? It's a whole other podcast episode.
I was going to say.
We can get you back for Dr. Edna.
Yeah. It's pretty sad.
On that note, thank you so much. I have learned so much today, and I have to say there's actually been a lot of validation for me in this episode. So thank you so much. Sorry I didn't want to cry, but it's been really validating. And I hope anyone else out there today has just had little moments of either going, I'm going to seek help, or I'm going to get my support network around me. Yeah. So, thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Oh, I shouldn't end the show like this.
I know.
What a bloody mess I am.
I thought we're ending with a stare.
I know. I want to be in on it. For everyone, you need to go and watch the YouTube now because I'm getting cuddles from everyone. Oh, thank you. I know. Thank you. No, but thank you so much. I've learned so much. It's been so good. Thank you.
I think another one of my episodes to really shout out was Shane's episode. He was
yes.
obviously one of the first males that we had on here. We were talking about this earlier as well. I think the fact that Shane is medically trained, so that part's very interesting, but watching his own partner go through what she did from his perspective, like the rawness behind that and just the emotion that sits behind that, although he held it together pretty well, like just it was incredible to listen to somebody's story from that perspective. Don't even think I've listened to my own husband's perspective of how we went through our own birthing experiences, but it was awesome.
I think it was maybe a couple months afterwards. There was a friend at work who's a bit older than me. His kids are older, and I've actually just started back at work, and he asked how it's all going. And I kind of just, blasé said, oh, it's amazing, this and that. And he's like, oh, yeah. How are you going? I was like, I don't know. How I'm going. I think I'm ready to be back. I don't know. And I kind of just opened up to him about that feeling of helplessness and I wish I could do more, but I can't. And
I bet you were doing amazingly, and I bet your wife thinks you were doing a lot.
Yeah. It's me.
Yeah.
It's just,
it's that.
On.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's a really important thing for us to talk about because I dare say, well, it's now 1 in 10 men are experiencing postnatal depression and anxiety.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it
1 in 10.
1 in 10.
I mean, because it flips your life on its head too, right? Like, the person who's giving birth has the most changes emotionally, physically. Everything changes for the person giving birth. But often the partner, your needs come last. There's everyone before you and no one's checking in on you. So we really advocate for everyone filling their cup. And, as a doula, I'm often, when I go to my doula clients' houses, it's okay, how can we make sure everyone's needs are taken care of? Okay, Dad, you want to go for a run? Now's your time. I'm here. I've got this. Go do what you need to do. Whatever it is to make you feel, because then you can be a better support as well. So often dads fall into this role of work and family. Yeah. And all the hobbies fall away, the friends fall away, and then they find themselves in a midlife crisis because, once the kids grow up and they look around and go, oh, I've got nothing left for me. Yeah. And so it's really important. I'm glad you had a work colleague to actually properly check in with you because often
it doesn't happen.
Get filled. No. Yeah.
Another one as well was Jess.
Yes.
Jess, who spoke about her experience donating eggs.
It was so powerful.
Beautiful, selfless human, just wanting to do some good and help people create their families if they're struggling. And a fascinating process as well that so many of us just know nothing about.
Exactly. I think people know to an extent if they've experienced the IVF process, like going through that themselves. But to go through the intensity of the IVF process, to have, your goods.
Yes.
Yeah, she stored her own and that's okay, but she also gave excess to people that she does not know. To be honest, the letter got me good.
Yeah.
I was interested to know about if the children were ever going to be able to contact me, what the process looked like, and what the laws around egg donation in Australia was.
Yes.
Which is actually, there's no real formal legislation around it.
Of course there's not.
But they can contact you after the age of 18, which I was more than happy to. And in the time being, I wrote a letter to the potential future children for the parents to give to them when they find out, or if they choose to find out, just explaining myself and why I chose to give the gift that I did to their parent that have worked so hard and travelled such a long road to try and find them, and that how loved they already were before I just gave them a little helping hand along the way. And the psychologist explained that a lot of the time that letter is enough. It's got some details about me, my life, my heritage, and that's often all the children or young adults are really interested in. They just want to know where their genetic materials come from.
I feel like anyone could read that and be emotional, but from sitting from a space of being a mother, for me, that
was a big one.
It was a big one.
I don't know if you were around at this point, but do you remember the episode with Fiona Hallinan as well from the pelvic space?
I met Fiona Hallinan, popped in to see you guys while you were recording and met her. I was not on the potties at that stage, but wow, she's a powerhouse.
100%. So much knowledge and history, and has worked in the field forever, and is just teaching the next generation and really very much a pioneer for us, listening to our own bodies and understanding our own bodies and what that looks like and how we can support ourselves. Also another firecracker. We had a few laughs through that one.
Yeah.
And that obstetrician, he was going to back me up. He came. He caught my baby, and all he said to me afterwards was, "You were a goddess."
Oh.
Yeah. He was a beautiful man. And so, there I was. I had my baby, and he was a beautiful, beautiful lad, my Hamish, and
wow.
I went back to the birth centre. I was just fine. I was good as gold. Stevie said, "I'll go and get an expensive bottle of champers." I said, "Forget that. Get me half a dozen VB stubbies."
I love that.
All I wanted was a beer.
Oh. Another one I would love to mention is Dusk.
Ah, yes.
Dusk. Wow. I feel that we don't know enough about the trauma that sits behind some people's history walking into birth.
Yeah.
Equally, we certainly experience so many people that come and stay with us who have had trauma of some description prior to having babies.
Or even the birth trauma that
100%.
they might experience, just so fresh.
Yeah.
And that trauma-informed care, it's so relevant for any part of anyone who's in a caring role, whether it be postpartum or in a hospital setting or wherever you are, just understanding that person's journey and what they're carrying with them.
Yeah.
We love Dusk.
We do. And we've had her back since to speak to our staff, and our intention is certainly to keep a relationship going there because there's just so much to learn.
And this beautiful nurse just slowly doing the thing, and she goes off and she comes back, she goes, oh, and I'm just, she goes, oh, I got the wrong size. Like they only have one size. And so off she goes, and I just held my baby. And, I always tell her, like, all of the prayers, all of the love, that her whole community held for her, like, just poured through those kisses and healed her. And I know that's just language that I'm putting on that, and that's not everyone's experience. But for me in that moment, just to be able to hold and kiss my own baby was everything.
The last one I wanted to mention was Dr. Perry Dyson.
Yes.
For a long time, I'd been trying to get an obstetrician to come on the podcast, and she was the first one who was brave enough to put up her hand, and she was incredible. She spoke really well, was really honest and open, and didn't shy away from the tough questions, and very grateful to her for that. And it was a really informative and great episode.
I was seeing a private obstetrician through all my pregnancies, the same one. So I was lucky that I had that trust in her. We agreed that I should be induced. I was excited about that. I was ready to have a baby after 2 years of waiting to have a baby, and good, let's have this baby before something happens, you know.
Do you feel like that's heightened? Well, obviously it is heightened because you have had those previous experiences.
I think it certainly did at that time.
The prospect of induction is not.
And also because I'm an obstetrician and I know what the process of induction looks like. It never was something that I was afraid of. I was like, good, I get to experience this, you know. I had a curiosity about what that feels like. And I know it's different for everyone. But for me, that was like, okay, let's see what it's like to have Prostin gel. You come in the night before, you have the gel put in.
It's almost like the
you start to have contractions. You're like, oh, good, I get to feel what a contraction feels
most
like.
significant work experience that you could actually have, you know.
Did you have much control over, like, what that birth experience was like? Like, did you say have any input in that with your knowledge that you brought to the table about what that looked like, or were you led into that and trusted your?
I think for most people who are induced for their first baby, the recommendations for them, like the mode of induction is going to be similar. So people come and have gel or a balloon the night before and the next day they have their waters broken and they have a drip with Syntocinon. And that's all I knew, and I was happy with that.
I mean, we've had so many incredible guests over the last 2 years.
Yes, and so many more to come.
Thanks to everyone who's come on to the podcast.
Thanks to everyone who listens as well every week, whether you're listening on Spotify or whether you're watching us on YouTube. We appreciate everyone's following along, and please give us your feedback, like, comment, share, follow along. It helps other people find us, and we like to know what you're loving so we can give you more of it.
Thanks everyone. Thanks Rach.
Thanks Kath.
This podcast represents the opinions of our hosts and their guest speakers. Views and opinions expressed in the podcast are our own and do not represent that of our places of work. This podcast is for informational purposes only, and content here should not be taken as medical or professional advice. Please consult your healthcare professional for any personal recommendations and medical care. While we make every effort to ensure that the information we are sharing is accurate, based on the best available information at the time of recording, we will welcome any comments, suggestions or feedback via our website, contact form, home.com.au/contact. Names and details of personal experiences may have been changed to allow anonymity and privacy. To join the conversation, join us on social media at Homb Postpartum.